Welcome to Bloodbath and Beyond. Today we review Gutterballs, Heads Will Bowl.
Written and directed by Ryan Nicholson, starring Dan Ellis, Alastair Gamble, Mihola Terzic, and Nandis Lawald. Gutterballs is about a group of friends, or at least competing teams, at a bowling alley. A fight breaks out between the two teams, and for interfering, one of the teams decides to gang rape the other team member. The very next night, people begin to get murdered brutally at the bowling alley. So what do we like? The best aspect of this film is certainly the gore. There is a lot of blood, there's a lot of killing, and I think the concept is kind of funny. It's a fairly dark movie to begin with, but the concept of a bowling bag killer, because he wears like a bowling bag upside down on his head and kills people with sharpened bowling pins and other bowling accessories, I think it's just a neat concept.
I really did enjoy the BBK. I like the look, I like the weapons, but most importantly, I enjoyed their personal bowling score.
Their strike would be a kill. So anytime that they would kill somebody, they'd show up on the actual scoreboards with a skull. Genius.
I enjoyed the variety of characters that were here. There was a lot of ones that we were meant to hate, and they did a really good job making me hate them. I hope the BBK just kills them in the worst way possible because they are a terrible person.
Yeah, you could almost say that for everyone. The soundtrack was actually way better than I've seen in any indie movie, but I'm not sure that they would have purchased all of these songs. I can imagine that would have been a fortune. Maybe they did. Every single song is like a well-known 80s song that you've heard.
The bowling alley itself was cool. I liked that they actually shot at Excalibur Bowling in British Columbia. It's a one-location film, but it had so many different rooms that it didn't feel like you were just at this bowling alley.
And like the location itself just kind of brings on so much different qualities, because how often do you see a slasher film in a bowling alley exclusively? It's just fairly unique in that aspect, and I thought that was cool.
This film was also riddled with boobs. Lots of nudity in this movie, and that is a pleasant surprise and a nice touch.
And in this case, we actually see vagina a couple times, and really close to seeing a booty hole.
Yep.
And a girl straight up just like gives a dude head. But I'm pretty sure that's a dildo. But still, you don't see that ever. Now it's time to move on to our dislikes.
I'm kicking one of our dislikes off with the rape scene. It was on for way too long that it made me feel uncomfortable.
That's its purpose, though.
It's still worth noting that it was on for a long time.
I agree. And like, I get it. It's necessary to make the audience feel uncomfortable, but it definitely, like you have 4 people raping this woman. It just goes on for a long time. So with the rape scene, like, you already hate these guys. And for the rest of the movie, you're going to continuously hate them even more because they're just assholes.
Like, sure as shit ain't no fucking faggot, you goddamn tuck-in.
They're aggravating to watch on screen, and I think that's a huge problem because the main guy, Steve, he basically continues to yell and scream and say fuck and just demand things from everybody.
What the fuck is this?
I'm sorry.
You drunk cunt! You go get me a fucking beer.
Okay.
I understand that they're trying to build his character up to be the asshole that you want to see die the most, but his character is 100% this, and he's super loud and obnoxious to the point where I have watched this movie before and I shut it off because of his character specifically.
Everyone in this film is a dick. Like, there isn't one character who you're gonna sit there and hope to survive. Everyone is pretty much unlikable.
And the biggest problem with all of this is if you don't like the characters, whether they're well acted or not, you're not gonna have a good time. And I don't think I had the best time with this movie. I enjoyed aspects of it, but I didn't like any character, so I didn't really connect with anyone, and I wanted to punch a lot of them in the face.
You just want the killer to kill everyone and then walk off into the sunset.
We're used to so many movies that have like stereotypical characters, and in this one, it's like they all had the same personality. Because it's 2 competing teams, they hate each other. So they're constantly just flipping each other off and swearing at each other. It's just loud noise that you don't care about.
And for a horror comedy, I would say this is really light on the comedy. When I go in watching something that is a horror comedy, I can appreciate the lowest of the low of humor.
Yeah.
And in this film, I was just not a fan of any of it. Like, the jokes all fell flat. For what they were trying to get across, they needed something a little more lighthearted for you to just, like, reset and be like, okay, now I can move on to the next scene.
Right, like it's a funny movie again. Because now you're throwing in this comical killer into a rather dark movie. It just doesn't, like, mesh well together. And I know there's a huge cult following for this movie. It's been recommended probably 100 times on our channel. Now the second time watching it, it's just, I don't know. I don't get the appeal. Now it's time for our final thoughts and ratings. Well, I can appreciate what they were going for in Gutterballs. This movie wasn't for me. I really liked the killer, and it would work in a more funny movie, I think. This movie was way too dark for me to really enjoy what was happening. I did like the gore because it was really well done. The practical effects are amazing and there's lots of bloodshed. However, everything surrounding the gore and the boobs, like, I really just didn't enjoy it. I absolutely hated the characters, and not just because I was supposed to hate them because they were gonna get killed. I just found them really obnoxious and irritating to watch. Now, there is a sequel, and I'm willing to give it a chance, because why not? This was from 2008, and I mean, it's an indie filmmaker, he's always growing. It's Ryan Nicholson, fellow Canadian, so we'll probably check out Balls Deep. I think that's what number 2 is. But for this one, it's not my cup of tea, so I'm gonna give this 1.5 ball waxing machines out of 5.
I came into Gutterballs expecting to have a fun time. I thought the concept was going to be funny. I thought it was going to be a horror comedy, and it wasn't. It was too dark for what I thought it was going to be, and I think a lot of people are going to go into this film expecting to laugh a lot more as if it was a satire, but it wasn't. I do appreciate how this film was shot. I loved the killer and I loved all the kills that we saw, so this film is really good in that sense, but the story was just not there for me. And I think with a weak story and characters that just aren't likable, it's hard to be invested in this film. So with that being said, I'm gonna give this film 2 strawberry condoms out of 5.
As always, thank you for watching. Like this video and comment below with your thoughts on the film if you've seen it. If you haven't, there are links in the description where you can find it. And this is your first time here, make sure you subscribe to the channel to stay updated with everything Bloodbath and beyond.